Let's do it. Alrighty, here we go. My name is Marty Fox from WHITEFOX. Now, here's the deal.
Here we are.
Welcome.
That's how it works. Welcome to another episode of WTF with the Fox, Marty Fox, of course, the man himself. And we're joined today by a man who's, it's not by design that we've had people working in the fitness industry as our guests to start with, but this guy's really changed the face of fitness in Australia. His name's Michael Ramsey. Of course, he was a pioneer of F45 in the early days and then got out of that and has now started something called Strong, which is genuinely taking the world by storm, not just Australia. So, Michael, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, and fantastic introduction. So thank you very much.
Well, what's funny about taking the world by storm, I picked up people from the airport this morning and they were just saying, what are you doing today? And obviously I've got a day planned for them. They're, looking at doing WHITEFOX in their region. And I dropped your name and your brand. And she was like, oh my God, I did it yesterday. And I was just like, how cool is this that, I go into New Zealand and I walk down the street with Kate Fairmaid, and our director from Queenstown had done a class of Strong up in Auckland, which is around the corner from our office there. And then this morning, it's just hearing people using your brand and your product and whatever it is, it's so cool that you just hear people say it organically.
Yeah, it's cool. It's sort of like only really just start to happen, like where I'll be at the airport or something and someone comes up and stops me and says, I love Strong, I'm a big advocate. It's sort of happening more and more now. It's sort of surreal, but...
And it's funny because you feel like it's been so long, but everyone thinks it's overnight. And probably before we get to Strong, take us back to, why you got into this industry in the first place and what is your background?
Yeah, so background, I was a PT at like 17, so just loved lifting weights, going to the gym nice and early. Started personal training, worked at Windy Hill Fitness Centre, just so your standard sort of 24-hour type gym, and actually hated it. Hated the one-on-one PT, felt like a psychologist, half the time.
Is this like mid-2000s? Where is this?
No, this is like 2006.
Okay.
So this is years and years ago.
Yeah, that I went to university. It was 06, so it's not that long ago.
But I'm saying it's a different trend back then. There were a lot of PTs, but it wasn't like now with the online trends and obviously the classes and whatnot. So it was still kind of a little bit of a niche, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, you had like Les Mills and things like that back then. But I hated it. Got out, ended up studying marketing, did Bachelor of Marketing, Master of Commerce, worked in oil and gas. Was always a PT on the side. I know.
Oil and gas, it's such a random.
I know.
It's
worked in oil and gas on a rig. Where were we?
No, I was B2B marketing for an oil and gas company, and really loved the marketing side of things, but really wasn't my thing. My passion was always fitness, and then mate, I discovered this F45 thing about 9 years ago. I was running a nightclub with my business partner, actually.
What was the club?
Motel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
What was the club?
Oh, I've had some great nights at
One of the
Motel.
great clubs of Melbourne.
And he said to me, I've seen this thing called F45. He's like, you're a PT, you've got the marketing background, I think you'd be great. So we're like, all right, let's check it out. Got on a plane, went to Bondi. There was probably only 3 F45s open then. I remember
So this is early. I mean, you just had Mark Wahlberg in Bondi over the weekend.
Yeah.
But was he involved yet?
No. He actually got involved after I exited F45. So he's relatively new to the piece. Sure. And our first F45 was number 10 in the world. Wow. So there's thousands and thousands now.
And what was that location?
Port Melbourne.
Because I remember when it opened up, because at that time of you opening, I started, I think, following you back then. I lived in Port Melbourne. So I would have been about 5 or 6 blocks away from your first location. It was on Bay Street.
Yeah, that's right. That location.
I went there. I was one of the OG. Yeah, I went to it.
Did you?
Yeah. That's how I met him. I went in through a little bit of out and about, but I went to that one with a heap of our mates. Clint Stanaway went there.
G'day, Stanners.
Lots of...
Dan Anstey.
Yeah.
You're in the background of pretty much most of my videos.
That's my iPad going off.
Your
behind
videos?
Us.
Yeah. I'm in the background trying to struggle my way through a workout. But no, it was... and correct me if I'm wrong, sorry to keep going through this, but you had investors, some AFL players were invested in it?
Yeah, we had Jimmy Bartell, Dyson Heppel. We had 6 F45s in total, never paid for a territory fee, and we managed to negotiate Port Melbourne, South Yarra for free. And the way we did that was we said, all right, we're going to bring on an established sort of AFL player, Brownlow medalist Jimmy Bartel, and an up-and-comer at the time, which was Dyson Heppel. So we negotiated that by getting these two guys involved in the business.
How much did they want for those territories? How much did you save?
50K. So
they saved 100 grand.
Effectively saved over the 5 years, 300K in territories just by negotiating and doing deals. And
does that stem back from your sort of ability to be a bit of a negotiator, or was it learnt through your marketing studies? Like, how did you have that type of what we call chutzpah?
Yeah, it was probably out of desperation as well. Didn't have the funds at the time, so it's like we just got to make this work. But yeah, definitely just hustling and knowing that we could get the media in, and I mean that Port Melbourne studio really launched a brand in Australia. We had every person, every celebrity. Basically, the people I used to give bottles of vodka to at motel would just come to F45 and post, and then we'd be in the papers.
There was a lot of faces. There was a lot of faces. Some beautiful women.
They were writing their sins of the weekend.
Yeah, correct. Sweating it out.
I mean, you're the good devil and the angel.
Take us through those early days of F45, because to me, in my mind, when I think back to it, it really was like a bit of a rock star time. Like there was a great vibe, there was a good community. It was the first. Well, for me, it was certainly the first kind of like fitness craze that built a community, as far as I'm concerned. There might have been something.
100%. It was likened to a cult.
Yeah. It was certainly a cult. The community was the number one reason it was successful.
Was that design, or was that just what came of it?
It's because it was so early. There was no real design, right? They give you a product, they give you workouts, they give you TVs, but it's up to you to hustle and sell memberships and build the community. And then, I don't know, you just end up learning. Like we did the hard hours. I was opening, closing, 4:30 starts, 8 p.m. finishes. And you learn everyone's names, you learn their birthdays, you know what they did over the weekend, you know their pet's name. You kind of start building these relationships. And what ended up happening was, we used to run parties at the end of the year. We'd have like 1,400, 1,500 people there from all our F45s. You build this incredible community. And once that happens, there's sort of this snowball effect of the gym just gets busier and busier. The memberships almost sell themselves. But once it's busy, it kind of takes care of itself. But
because you're limited by numbers, capacity, space.
Well, we kind of... What we did was actually we knocked down a wall and we were running classes of 72 people with 5 trainers, and so we just had to. Demand was surpassing supply,
capacity.
So we just had to make it work. So yeah, we doubled down on all the equipment, did another fit out, and then it just turned into an absolute machine.
And then from there, what happens on the worldwide scale? So fast forward, you're in, what year is this, 2000 and...
So it was 2015 that we launched.
Yep.
Yep.
And then how long did you stay in F45 for?
Stayed in F45 for another 4 to 5 years.
And then were you bought out? Like, as in, did corporate buy you, or did other people from outside? How did that sort of pan out?
We sold 6 studios to 3 private buyers. Did quite well. So we sold sort of back end of 2019.
Is that right?
Had Darwin, had 2 in Darwin.
Yeah.
That was a marketing decision actually, because the catchment, let's say you buy a suburb like Toorak, you've got maybe population of, I don't know, you would know better than me, 35,000 people that live here, maybe, something like that. In Darwin, I saw a territory there and there was 140,000 people in this one catchment. So I was like, this is the best territory available. So we got Darwin.
Did it go well? Was Darwin a good one?
Exceptionally well.
Yeah.
But that was bought and sold within 2-3 years. But
and is it public knowledge what you were able to crystallise that deal for?
Yeah, sort of 3.5 times profit was sort of what you're looking at.
And was that like your first sort of mini exit or big financial exit? Was that the first time where you consolidated your try and business of starting something, getting the rewards for the hard work, and then feeling that element of financial freedom?
Absolutely. It's I think owning a business is one thing, but then going through the whole life cycle and selling it is massive, and it's hard to sell. Like I was listening to Sam's episode and he was talking about his exit, right? and it is hard. It's difficult. This is on a much smaller scale, but finally, end of 2019, we sold all 6 studios. Thank God, like just before COVID hit, the timing. But the funny thing was the whole, because we were so prominent in the F45 network, myself and my business partner Mark, everyone was like, "You guys are idiots. You're getting out too early. What are you doing?" And for us, the writing was on the wall. We could see there was an oversupply of F45s. There was one on every corner. There was a lot of competition coming into the market. They were focusing heavily on expansion into the US and other areas, and the writing was on the wall for us. So we just got out.
I want to talk about that exit. Sorry, Chu. I just don't want to lose this train of thought because when we were talking to Sam, and I remember when it happened, there was like this sort of feeling of like, you think that you're going to do this big celebration, the champagne bottles are popping and all that sort of stuff. I remember my first little mini exit where I became financially free at that point in time. And I remember sort of just Charlotte and I looked at each other. We walked down Acton Street, sat down and had dumplings, didn't even drink, and we went home, went to bed. Like it was quite an anticlimax. I want to know, like, take us back through when you did the deal.
Yeah.
Because it would be burnt in your mind what you did that night.
Yeah, mate, it's funny, like exactly the same scenario. Like we thought this is going to be huge, our lives are going to change. I think we cracked a bowl of Grange. I drank half of it. It was like 11 a.m. in the morning. I didn't even want to. I'm a Pinot guy. I didn't even like the Grange. And then I woke up the next day and my life's still exactly the same. Like it's not, you got a little bit of money in the bank account and things are good, but it's exhausting, at the end of the whole process. There wasn't the fireworks. There wasn't the big, let's do this.
I think there's a theory behind it, and it's because if you've got that entrepreneurial flair, you're born with that drive, it's almost quite sad because you've done it, you've closed that chapter, and it's that feeling of your identity changes. You're not the F45 guy anymore, and you're already starting to think, well, what is the next thing? And obviously the next thing was what you're doing now, but how long did it take for you to find that next thing?
I was already working on Strong through the exit. And I think actually to your point where there's like you're expecting fireworks at the end and you don't, I think that's where I realised it's just so important to enjoy the process and the journey and just enjoy every day instead of like going for this one big exit, right? I've been working on Strong for a while. I'd broken my ankle. I used to be a big plyometrics guy, do these big jumps and, tuck jumps and clap push-ups, all this crazy stuff. And I broke my ankle I was shooting an Adidas commercial for a new runner. And 5 minutes, the brief was like jump over shopping trolleys and do that on the streets of Sydney. And
during the commercial,
within 5 minutes, I'd broken my ankle. And so I couldn't do any of that stuff.
Was there a lawsuit with Adidas afterwards?
It was, I actually didn't pursue anything. I just sort of copped it on the chin and rehabbed and discovered the reformer. And I loved it. I was like, what's this machine? My body feels better. I feel stronger. And I just fell in love with reformer. And so this is all during the exit of F45. But as much as I do the reformer, I always felt like I had to go for a run or I had to do a HIIT workout and elevate my heart rate because I never felt like the workout was enough. And then I discovered this machine called the Rowformer, so effectively a rower attached to a reformer. It was in LA, jumped on a flight straight after the F45 exit, went to LA, tried this machine out, loved it. It was one of the most excruciatingly tough, enjoyable, endorphin-enhancing workouts I'd ever done in my life. And I ended up just, myself and Mark, my business partner, we negotiated the rights for the Rowformer for Australia, New Zealand, Canada and Asia. We now own the rights globally. And
so to get those countries tied down, how does a negotiation like that begin? And who actually thought of that machine? Like, who is this person or company? Like, what is it?
Yeah, it's a guy, just a dude in California who came up with it. It's patented. Very similar to the whole F45, deal with the territories and stuff. We just have to sell ourselves. Like, look what we've been able to achieve. Look at all this media that we've drummed up. we want to take this machine global.
And you said, well, if you give us this machine,
Yep.
you can charge us a percentage of our earnings.
Correct.
Is that sort of what you cut?
Correct. So he's our manufacturer, effectively a middleman actually. So he takes a clip on the machines, and every time we open a studio, we're selling 20 machines. So it's sort of how it all happened, and it's all kind of worked out. There were intricacies in the service offering where, like, the studio in LA, it was good, but it needed, the music, the lighting, the curation of the programming, the tech, all those little things sort of we had to come up with.
And you had learnt that through F45. It
Correct.
needs these other bits and pieces.
But even F45 needed to glow up. Like you start going to these new ones, Barry's and now Body Fit and whatever else, they've all got this now next level of offering, right? Like you...
Yeah, innovation is so important. There's, like, my role effectively now in the business is delivering a major innovation every year. So, you need to constantly be changing and improving. And we learned kind of what to do with F45. We learned what not to do. We've been through the journey as a franchisee, so we kind of knew the pain points as well.
And are you offering your franchises things that you disliked when you were in their position, now that you're the franchisor?
We're certainly, like, we provide, the culture thing is massive, I think. You've effectively got this, like, sub-consumer of a franchisee who's a business owner, and it's, right now we have 53 locations. Let's say it's over 100 franchisees that we have to work with. So what we've doubled down on now is, like, just the support, the culture, the education, because with F45 it was like a wildfire. They opened so many studios so quickly, and that's where that sort of missing link was. Like, there were just so many new people coming into the F45 franchisee market that they weren't able to control the culture and all that sort of thing. So it's something that we've tried to do a lot more sustainably.
Well, the challenge... Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, but what about with... Because one of the things we were discussing just before the mics rolled, in terms of F45, I did it with you, some of the limitations were, firstly, if the teacher's no good, you can have a real issue, and that's something you can be out of your control potentially, and maybe you've taken that into account with Strong. Secondly, like with the Roformer, you're a fit guy. You've always got that capability. How did you make sure that the consumer was going to like it? Because skinny body like me, I might think it's too much. Like, did you go through that process of testing it with other people, or did you go, nah, this is going to be the next thing? How did you know that?
We actually set it up to franchise from day one, and we opened our first studio in November, sold our first franchise in December.
And where was that? Who was your first deal?
Elstonwick was our company owned, then Mornington was our first franchisee. That was Johnny Hastings.
Let's say Johnny, yeah.
And was he an ex-F45er?
Yeah.
He was involved.
He's a professional cricketer.
Got you. And I went to your very first studio in Elstonwick.
Yeah.
And it's funny now that I know this nightclub background, which I never knew. I remember going in there thinking, oh my God, I feel like I'm actually in a club. So you've combined, like, this amazing music, and it's very dim, sexy lighting, and
really
you look amazing in the mirror. Shows no cellulite. But yeah, it was an unbelievable. I was cooked.
Yeah. It's cool, like the whole music thing, there's R&B when you're on the Pilates side, and then when you're doing the rowing, the lights come down and the deep house comes on, and it's like a nightclub. And but yeah, we did have to test it, but we had to test and develop as we were selling, because I was just so confident in the product.
Yep.
And then we brought on the TVs. So similar to F45, how you got the TVs, we created our own TV system, but it's effectively on a PowerPoint presentation. So the instructor's clicking through the exercises. And when we put a visual guide up there, the amount of conversion we had with males coming in, like, a lot of guys do want to try Pilates, but they just have no idea what they're doing.
And they want the intensity. They want that rowing aspect.
I have this argument with my wife all the time. She loves Pilates. She's like, you should do it. And in my mind, it's not a workout like a gym workout is. But I know you're telling me that's completely the wrong idea to have.
Yeah, it's one of those workouts where you actually leave feeling stronger, feeling better. A lot of our clients are like ex-athletes, or they're just getting older and they've got banged up knees, sore lower back. This is like a workout where you can push yourself,
and not injure yourself.
Not injure yourself. So the whole goal now for the business, we want to be the heroes of low impact training globally. Like that's our goal. And it's there's no running, there's no box jumps, there's no burpees.
I love how clear you are on that. You are the heroes of low impact training.
Yep.
I just think that as a modus operandum or a mission statement, whatever you want to call it, to own that on a global scale and to legally have it as yours, I just see that is just pure gold dust.
Yeah. The importance of knowing who you are, and you would understand this, like I think, your brand is incredible. I know next to nothing about property, but when I think of WHITEFOX, I think prestige. If I'm going to sell my $5 to $10 million home, I want to be selling it with you. And on the other hand, if I'm going to buy a $5 to $10 million home, I want that brand alignment of prestige, of quality. And that's me not knowing anything about property and just looking at your brand externally. It's just so important to know who you are and double down on brand. I think brand over everything is key, really.
Well, that's
he loves that.
Oh, mate,
watching him go, you two are in synergy.
Well, that's why, I say to people all the time, if real estate was just luck. Like fitness, is your thing, but it's actually branding that gets me out of bed. Building a brand that people respect and love to be a part of. I get that sense that that's what really inspires you to have something that is in its own lane. Your business now, it's essentially competing with other training platforms because of the identity of Strong. It is in its own lane, doing its own thing. And that's what I wanted to create with WHITEFOX as well. That business that was a little bit different. Now you're such an advocate for franchises, and for us, we've gone down a different path, but the expansion and getting people to buy into the vision of what our brands are, I think that's the part that keeps us so engaged.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's so important to stand out and be different. I think you guys have got that X factor. We try to we don't have any competition, yet we're competition to everyone. It's great to have it to be in a niche. I almost respect what you've done more, because real estate is it's been around for a long time. It's hard to differentiate, but the way you portray even your copy visually on social media, it actually stands out. And I didn't think I'd see that in real estate, to be honest.
Well, it's such an antiquated industry. Yeah. We're so governed by, very difficult laws. And growing a brand, now that we're going national and we're overseas, how do you maintain that consistency? Particularly, real estate's legal. Real estate's involving some pretty big transactions, but it comes back down to the way that you can be consistent is in your hiring of people, making sure that they understand the values of the brand and staying true to that visual identity and tone of voice. So they're the three pillars that you can sort of hold on to, because we don't have a product. We're selling a service, which makes it so much harder.
So that's the question. When you were planning this, the name, the look, you're black and white, look like WHITEFOX, where did that come from? When did you know the name? When did you know the look and feel of the brand?
Yeah, the name's an interesting one. So we own @Strong on Instagram, the handle @Strong.
How do you get that?
I started buying one-word Instagram names. Remember when domains were really valuable?
Yes.
So I think koala.com, the mattress company, I think they paid an absolute fortune for koala.com.
Yes.
I remember thinking about that. And I just started buying one-word Instagram names as investments. And I bought Strong for $3,500 USD maybe 7 years ago. Wow. And I was just holding it. I wasn't doing anything with it.
Because you could get a tap on the shoulder, someone goes, hey, I'll give you $50K for it.
It'd be worth hundreds now.
Yeah.
And then after I tried the Roforma, I thought, I did a lot of brand discovery and trying to work out what I'm going to call this thing. And the one thing that I felt was strong. I felt strong after the workout. My body felt better, and so it just made perfect sense to call the business Strong.
It's the best name.
Handle.
It's the best name. It's the best name as well, because like what you were saying earlier about being a male and not really thinking of Pilates, but the juxtaposition of, it's actually reformer Pilates with the rower and you feel strong. It is a very manly, masculine, strong name.
And ironically, it gets more females in being gender neutral and being Pilates is traditionally very fluffy, but It's females for us are the low hanging fruit. The hard thing
What's
is
the
getting,
percentage of your membership base?
It was 89% female at one point. We then brought on Nat Fyfe, Travis Boak, Nico Hines and Sean Johnson. So we had 4 male ambassadors. Now we've got 17% male. And that's been a grind. Like it's hard to get guys in, but I see that as our biggest opportunity.
Absolutely.
I'm curious in the States whether that will, because that growth's coming, right? Like, talk us through the next steps for Strong.
Yeah. So right now we're in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK, sold masters into Japan, Korea, Philippines.
How many franchises do you have now?
Right now there's 53 open and close to 200 sold.
And when you say that you've sold them, they've essentially got a reservation down. And when you, from a operations perspective, can catch up to that, is there like a time limit that you give them, like in terms of the selling down? Sorry, who's calling? I'll call him back. In terms of the selling, because that's just so exciting. 53 open, 200 sold. I'm interested from an expansion perspective because we've got 6 or so opening this year, and we're trying to figure out operationally how do we get it all together, and is there that delay of time based on just delivery?
It's all site dependent. That's all it is, real estate. So it's so popular in Australia now, and we've sold so many with this huge expansion in particularly Perth and Sydney are big markets for us. Melbourne's starting to really do its thing now. But it's such a saturated industry. So everyone wants 300 square metres. Whether it's a Body Fit, an F45, a Fit Stop, a Cakes Pilates or whatever, they all want the same square meterage.
So they all want 300?
Well, let's say 200 to 300.
Got you.
So we're all fighting for the same real estate. And what's slowing the expansion down is not having that real estate available to us.
Wow, aren't all the F45s closing? There's heaps of space.
Well, there's an opportunity now. There's a lot of talks at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really the one thing. And you don't ever want to have too many sold and not enough open.
So the people that are waiting to open and they're just waiting for this real estate to come up, do you take a holding deposit? Do you take a registration? How does that work commercially?
So they pay $5,000 reservation, and then they've reserved it for X amount of time. I think generally it's up to a month, and then they have basically a month to pay the $50K, the balance for the territory, and then they own that territory.
And do they get that on a license for a number of years?
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
And in terms of once they've found that real estate, who fits it out? Who invests in? Is that a JV or is that something that HQ does? How does that work?
Yeah, it's all, particularly franchising, it's all systems, right? So we need to provide effectively everything. We don't do the fit out, but we get certain companies to quote, and we try and get the franchisee to get as many quotes as possible. But yeah, it's
And does HQ bankroll that, or how does it work?
No. We've got great lenders that come in and support. Now the business is proven. Yeah.
So as long as these people that want to be strong have got that initial 5,000, 50,000 sitting there, they can effectively be business owners with great leadership with yourself and your team, and can open up a strong community, which it's a community, with your backing, and not have to think that they need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because you've got the lending facilities in place for them to get it going.
That's right. We try and get franchisees that have at least 200K liquid capital. But aside from that, it's more of finding the right partners as well. Like the whole investor thing. Like we've had people come in and want to buy 20 studios, and for us it doesn't work. The best franchisees are the ones that are working in it. It's your mum and dad investors. The top performing franchisees in our network are all from sales backgrounds.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Because it's selling memberships. It's like with WHITEFOX, we are opening, in multiple locations in JV structures, but a lot of these people haven't actually run businesses. They're great salespeople that we are holding their hand and helping them build these teams. And they are on the tools. They're in the trenches with their teams. They're the best business owners and sales directors because they're in there. They've got the respect of their team, and they're leading through doing, not leading through telling. And that's a massive thing for a business owner. is that you need to earn the respect of your colleagues. They're not just your staff, they're your family away from your family. And that's what we're finding, is that these businesses are performing if they're in the trenches, finger on the pulse, feeling the highs, feeling the lows, and grinding it out.
And I'm intrigued. I think we had a quick conversation not long ago about the franchising versus sort of partnership model. How did you sort of come up with your pathway? Because I know with franchising, it's so scale dependent. Like, it's the biggest question I get is from, let's say, gym owners that have come up with a concept and they're like, should I franchise? And I'm like, well, are you going to open 200 studios? And if the answer is no, well, don't do it, because you need to scale. So I'm interested in how you...
But also, before he answers, because you've also got the idea in your mind of now, okay, you've got 200 plus locations coming globally. How do you control the quality? How do you control because you can't control it, the franchisee needs to, but is there some level of like, this is the training your people need to have? And then on a global scale, is there going to be get-together? Like, how do you do that? I mean, who can talk about what we do?
It's just very much high support. Systems, onboarding. We're teaching people how to run their business, and when we have master franchises, they come to Australia. We teach them every component from the academy to bringing instructors on, to marketing, to generating leads, to running the workouts, to like absolutely everything.
What's a master franchise as opposed to a franchise?
So a master franchise takes a majority clip, and we take a minority. So they can have, like, let's say John in the UK, he can open 100, 200 studios there. We get a clip of the ticket, but we provide all the workouts and the infrastructure. But he's pretty much a strong HQ in the UK.
Yeah, and that's because of the time. It's like, we have the ability to open up offices.
Yep.
And I think the difference between the franchise and the JV model is that you can't be across the day-to-day hiring and firing. Because why would you be? That's what they're buying.
Yep.
Whereas for us at the moment, and the way in which we've structured it, we're very much across the hiring and firing of, and I'm saying hiring and firing, it's the easiest way to sort of get your head around it, but of each individual person within the business.
And controlling the look and feel.
And the look and feel.
The feel.
So in terms of, this office here in Toorak, this is the engine room for all of our offices in Australia and New Zealand currently. So a house can go get shot overseas, but yet a lot of the hard work's being done in here, with us making sure that if you're a consumer and you're in Queenstown and you come to Melbourne and then you go down to the Mornington Peninsula and then you go to Perth to see the Quokkas, any of those properties that you've seen have that exact look and feel, which can be really difficult in real estate because it's a service, not necessarily a product. But I can foresee, and I'm getting a lot of messages, I'm meeting people in London. There's no time limit, we can just keep rolling. It's too good of a chat. If you want to log off the podcast, you can log off. You can hit pause, there's so much to talk about. I mean, look, normally they're pretty quick podcasts, but when it's fun and interesting, I'm actually learning too now, so it's great. But, with that time difference, I'm meeting people in London in June, and I know that they want to be White Fox. There will come a moment when that ability to have that exact same support that we're offering in Australia and New Zealand is impossible. And, I'm probably going to call you in July and say, bro, so how does this work? Because it's one of those things where you got to know when to pull back and not be the majority. We're majority shareholder of all offices, and at some point that may need to change depending on which part of the world we're in.
And it's so important to get it right as well and get that brand recognition, brand alignment. How important is word of mouth to you guys?
I think it's everything. It's the most valuable form, and it's also the hardest form to measure.
Yep. It's like for me, I could get a Pilates consumer for say $8 running meta ads. I could get a regular gym goer for say $12 running meta ads. And over time, that gets harder and harder. And as you get more established in your market, that cost per lead goes up. But the one thing that cuts through the acquisition is the word of mouth. And if you could only get clients, let's say there was no social media, no nothing, if you could only get clients through referral, how good would you treat your customers, right? They would be everything. You treat them like absolute royalty. And for us, I think That's what we need to focus on, because word of mouth and referral, that just cuts through like nothing else. So,
And it's like treat your buyer like your vendor, and you'll
Yep.
have a great real estate business.
Yep.
The person that's not actually putting the commission in your pocket is the one that you need to service the most, because they're your future customer.
Yeah, you want them walking away going, I liked doing that.
Well, it's normally the buyer that's always the most shitty with the agent.
yeah.
You know, so if you can turn that narrative and bring it back on side, which is what we've always tried to do as a business, you can't fail.
Your hero is the expat, the Aussie who's tried strong, loves it, but moves to Japan or whatever, and can tell that everyone that they work with, oh, you got to try this. That's the best. Like,
Yeah.
Because we do listen to our friends. We do listen to, like, I started F45 because I knew Dan's team. He was doing it and
Yep.
came along, and it was great. And same with any of these things. I started BodyFit because Rory in our office was doing it.
Absolutely.
Right? You just you go along with friends. It's just how it works, particularly in that fitness world. You got to try this thing. It's so good.
So you get America going. That's literally on the cusp of exploding.
Yeah, that's so I was in LA last week actually. My business partner Mark's moved over to LA. We've sold territories now in New York, California, Texas and Florida. We'll launch our first studio in Hermosa Beach in LA later this year, and then I'll move over. And
You're going to move to the US.
yeah, so I'm moving across end of the year.
You've just moved to Byron.
Mate, and
No, I can't keep up.
I know.
So hold on. So Melbourne, how long has the Byron move been?
It's been about 9 months, and it's been lovely. It's amazing. I'm flying back and forth a lot. But look, this is where the business is taking us. America's the biggest fitness market globally. I went and I tried a lot of the different Pilates offerings over there, and I'm just so confident that we're going to go there and we're going to smash it.
I have this sixth sense though. I mean, you read the play pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you've read the play on F45. You got out at the perfect time. You know, my partner in this, you know, personally is my wife, and Charlotte's always, you know, saying things. You know, when I started my first business, she told me when to get out at the right time. She's always picked when we should be flipping properties. She reads the play perfectly. And she always says, always sell when there's so much still left on the table for someone else.
Yep.
Always sell when it's hot. Always sell when people least expect it. And that's coming from Charlotte, and I've always trusted her judgment on things. You've said something very similar where you read the play, you didn't hold on too long. Talk to me about your game plan with Strong.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and you're right. There needs to be upside for the buyer. So you can't diminish a market and then expect someone to come in and buy your business. For us, we're longevity, right? So I want Strong to be around in 10, 15 years, and I want us to be as I said, the heroes of low impact training. I want to be in every country, every state. Whether it's an exit or potentially just getting a growth partner in the US and someone who can help us grow. You know, this expansion is going to cost us a lot of money, and we could sit back and try and get some reward for our time. It's been doing this for 9 years now, but instead we're investing, we're bootstrapping. So I think in the near future, let's get open in the States and let's get a growth partner and let's take this thing to the next level.
I love that.
Yeah.
So retain what you've got currently in the countries that are sort of in your time zone for now. Mm-hmm. They're running themselves.
Yep.
Head over there, get that growth partner involved, and then take it really hard. I mean, America still, whether you like it or not, that is the centre of.
Well, it's also 300 million people.
Yeah, exactly.
Places,
Yeah,
right?
It's a different ball game.
Yeah.
We've identified, based off CBRE data and competitor data, 750 tier one sites in the US. Like tier one, that's
Main Street, like.
Yeah.
One of the really smart things you did off the back of F45, we talked about community before, was these journey retreats. People might remember you got your community and you took them over to Bali and you did these retreats, right? Do you look at it now and go, with Strong, we could eventually have a global community, and there's another spin-off you could do. I don't know. Is that in your mind, or is that not something that you would pursue?
There is, but it in different contexts. So now we've actually just launched a recovery model. So we'll have bolt-on recovery ice bath saunas in studios, so things like that. But, you know, we have product ranges. We sell tens of thousands of grip socks. Everyone wants to wear grip socks.
Oh, of
in the
course,
studios.
yes.
But that's the thing with franchising. You have to look at multiple revenue streams. You can't just rely on royalties. Yep. That's why you need the scale. But, yeah, we're looking at a whole lot of different things. Retreats, maybe not so much.
A lot of work.
I'm scarred from
But they're also so expensive, retreats. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's time consuming, it's flying, it's the accommodation, that's the killer.
Yeah. And like when COVID hit with that one, that was I can't even think about that business now.
He's got PTSD.
Poor guy.
Mate, I'm so excited just for the journey. I've wanted to sit down with you for bloody ages. You know, we're always DMing, and I just I know that the paths are going to cross frequently over the years, and love the brand, love everything about it, love your leadership and how direct you are. It's funny, you embody strong. You know, you've just got a strong mindset, you're strong physically, and I think you're building an extremely strong franchise business. So
Appreciate
massive congratulations to you.
Thank you, mate. And it's great to sit down, like having with your brand is particularly a brand that I admire. So it's good to just talk shop and see the similarities as well. But yeah, mate, it's been awesome.
We might have to get him back on the end of the year. One Strong's like across the world.
Oh,
Chat
well,
about where it's
100%. Well, when I'm in the US, you know, that'll be episode 2 of us catching up for sure.
Great.
It's great to have you in it. Just remember, with WTF, you can listen to it at any of your normal podcast locations, Apple Play, Spotify, and of course YouTube and Instagram with the Fox. Great to be with you, Marty and Michael. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Sign up for Strong.